County Board of County Commissioners meeting for the Suwannee County Tentative Budget Hearing 2021-2022. At this time, if everyone would please stand for our invocation and our pledge by Commissioner Land.
Let us pray. Lord, we come to you tonight thanking you for your many blessings you've bestowed upon us. We ask you to place your hand on those that are suffering due to this terrible virus. I ask you to protect our first responders, our military. We ask you to bless this board and guide us and lead us in a direction that be beneficial to all of Suwannee County citizens. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Once again, I'd like to welcome everyone, and as most of you can tell, this is not Commissioner Hale. He's got hair.
I got it.
But Commissioner Hale, all seriousness, is with his wife in Gainesville with some health issues. Our thoughts and prayers are with him this evening, so he will not be with us. At this time, we'll move forward and welcome Mr. Barry Baker.
If you would, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
we're before the 5 minutes for the
Oh, okay.
for the
Couple
budget
minutes.
hearing.
Couple minutes early.
If we can flip back and go back to the special call meeting on the LSC
Okay.
as the first item on the agenda.
Okay. At this time, we have approval of an extension of the local state of emergency date is August 13th, 2021.
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner White, second by Commissioner Fleming. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Bavad. Slipped by me. We do still have a couple of minutes here. Mr. Baker, I apologize.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
If I could, you've actually got an additional item that we need to,
Okay.
can probably handle.
Yes, sir. I got it. Right.
That's a question of the effective date. We adopted the rate change, the transfer fee rate change the other night. We didn't discuss the effective date. In fact, I've talked to some of you about the effective date. I was going to recommend October 1, but we are in the midst of going through, we're going to have to renew all of the charges for the commercial lease cans. We need to contact those customers, give them an opportunity to do something different if they choose to do so. City of Live Oak needs to, they may bring everything to us, but we've also got commercial accounts, and I think it's only appropriate that we try to communicate with them by letter. And we've got to go through all these customer charges because they're all different. If you would consider an effective date of November 1, I think that might be a better approach. But I need an effective date on that rate change that you made the other night.
Gentlemen, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'm good with that. If that gives staff time to do all the stuff and, necessary mathematical calculations and I guess notify and allow the
That's the plan, and I also plan to come back in your next regular meeting so that we can discuss the actual rates for the charges on the commercial lease cans. We will take the tonnage rate that we just adopted, reconcile that with the charges and bring those in and let y'all take a look at that before we make a decision on that as well, which is another thing that we need to do before we send a letter out. But I think November 1 right now would be a better date than trying to, because we couldn't get it done between now and October 1.
Right. Would y'all have time, staff have time to bring that back to us at the end of this month so that we can try
That's
to
my
get the
plan.
letters out so that folks have time to adjust if
Right.
they need to do so?
That's the plan right now.
I'm good with November the 1st, Mr. Chairman.
We got you just need a consensus on that? Or you like?
I would, go ahead, yeah, you need to vote on that.
I move that the effective date for the new rate schedule goes and fees go effective
November 1.
November the 1st.
I have a motion by Commissioner Land.
Second.
Second by Commissioner White. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
4-0. I believe that's all we had, isn't it, for
Yes,
us?
sir.
Additional. Okay, at this time, I'd like to once again welcome Mr. Baker, 5:06 p.m. Welcome, sir.
I have to say, Mr. Chairman, this is the tentative budget hearing for the 21-22 budget year. It's for the tentative millage rate. The proposed tentative millage rate is 9.0000 mills. The proposed tentative budget is $110,700,462. The rollback rate is 9.0675 mills, and the proposed millage rate is a 0.74% decrease from the rollback rate.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. Do we need to swear anybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, at this time, I will ask anybody that plans to comment or thinks they may. You don't, doesn't mean you have to. Mr. Pravat will swear you in at this time.
Thank you. If you think you may speak, please raise your right hand and be sworn. Please stand too, please, so I can see you. All righty. Do each of you swear or affirm the testimony you give this evening before the board will be the truth, so help you God? All right, thank you very much.
Mr.
Remember
Chairman.
to, yes, ma'am.
My son's on his way in, and I know he wants to speak.
Yes, ma'am, and if he does want to speak at the time, if you'll remind me, then before he speaks, then we can go ahead and swear him in at that time. Yes, ma'am.
At this time, we will go to our constitutional officers. Do I have any of those wishing to speak or discuss anything? Seeing none, we'll go to outside agencies. Do I have any of those wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll go to county departments. Do I have anyone from county departments wishing to speak about anything that has to do with the budget?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I do need to point out that we received a letter, and Mr. Baker is familiar with it as well, but we received a letter from the court administrator saying that there's a position, digital court reporter position, that has to be funded, and Suwannee County's portion of that position would be $11,124.81, so I would request that that be added to the budget.
How much dollar amount you say again?
It's on that second page.
Yes, sir. $11,124.81 for our portion out of 7 counties.
Okay. Gotcha.
Do we need a motion on that, Mr. Bad, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, it's for consideration right now. Make sure that Mr. Gentry has it, put in, and then it'll just become part of the budget.
Gotcha. Do I have consensus from the board?
Mr. Berry,
Mr. Baker, you're fine. Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I was just going to say, if there are any expenses that you are showing in addition or taking away, you need to tell us exactly where you want it to come from.
Okay. You apologize for that, Mr. Baker, because you'd already told me that, and but we need to clarify that for Mr. Gentry. So,
where do you get,
I'd take it from contingency.
any issue with that?
11,000, that's our percentage for that employee that covers the whole circuit, so I'm good with that.
Mr. Gentry would take it from,
That won't change the overall budget amount, but it will reduce your contingency to $316,408.
gotcha. I got you. Anything additional, Mr. Harris?
No, sir.
Hey.
do you need a motion on that?
Okay. Let's, yes, sir.
Offer a motion to, for the position for the court reporter.
Just include the amount and say that we want it to come from contingency.
Okay. The total amount or just Suwannee County's amount?
Suwannee County.
$11,124.81 to come from Suwannee County from the contingency line.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Commissioner White, I have a second by Commissioner Land. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. You good with that, Mr. Gentry? Thank you. At this time, I'll open the floor to the public for any comments. Do I have anyone wishing to speak about the budget that's with us? Is your son still a few minutes away, or do you have an approximate idea how long? Is he wanting to speak on something else, or is it something to do with the budget that we're talking about right now? Okay. Well, we're going to give him the courtesy, and we're going to not close public comment until we get there. We can have comment on other things if we choose to, if there's something else y'all would like to discuss.
Do we, Mr. Harris, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Harris, on that solid waste, do we need to adopt that, we need to adopt some type of amended budget since we set the rate the other night, right? Do we do that here, or we do that at the final?
No, that is one of the questions that I had on here for y'all to consider was what budget we're going to use. If we're going to use the budget that you presented the other night, then it needs to be incorporated and replace the budget that we had in the budget book.
Yeah, I
Y'all
mean, it's up
y'all
to the board, but
decide that.
the one that's in this book is based on a much higher assessment than what we approved the other night. So if we don't adjust these numbers, we're going to be way out of whack.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know that mine's going to be 100%, but because we got so many variables that we talked about the other night, green cans, tonnage,
Right.
new rate, transportation.
Well, your
costs,
budget,
it's going to be very close.
I think, though, was predicated on that rate. The variables, honestly, no one's really going to know until,
Until it starts halfway
you
through.
know,
the year.
maybe 6 months into the year we'll
Yeah.
know. But it will be closer to matching than the budget that was
Based off
in
the
this purple book already.
So do you need
I would make a
for
motion
that?
that we adopt the proposed one presented at the, I don't know how I say that correctly, Mr. Pravat. I would make a motion that we adopt the budget that was proposed at the solid waste workshop,
The at
pro forma.
the hearing on the rate.
Public hearing.
On the
public
assessment.
hearing. Yeah, not the workshop, the hearing on the rate on September 7th.
Yeah. Logan, did you get a copy of that the other night? Did someone get a copy of that? The budget?
I got 4 copies.
You did?
And Keith has a
Okay.
copy as well.
Okay, well, that's fine. Okay.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Land,
Second.
second by Commissioner Fleming. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Say again. No.
That was to accept the budget that was presented during the assessment hearing as the budget for solid waste for next year. So that's just
Commissioner Land had the
amending a
paperwork
portion of
to
it.
address the numbers.
It was pretty much the exact numbers in the book minus the compactors and their equipment. I mean, it was like a million something, 1,098,000 or something less.
If
and all
y'all need a
compactors.
copy of it?
Keith has
They have it.
Mr. Gentry, do you have any questions for us on this item? Was it?
You approved the changes that were presented
Yeah.
Tuesday night.
Yes, sir.
Number adjustments.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Harris, you said that was one of the things. Do you have anything else while we're waiting on
The other was just that position on the court, the reporter.
that we just covered?
That was it.
Any other, is that all we needed to handle on that part? So we're good there?
Yes, sir.
Unless you want to ask the question again, because there's more people that got here about any additional people.
Oh, yes, sir, I will. We have some folks that had just came, and I had opened the floor to public comment. Do I have anyone that's wishing to speak on anything to do with the budget? This is just to do with the budget now, with the county budget that we're approving for this coming fiscal year.
Is that not what our taxes are being charged at for that budget?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then this is a budget hearing for us to tell you that you're not happy with it and why.
Yes, ma'am. And I think you come late, so I believe we need to swear her in. If you want to come to the podium.
I'm hearing this song in my head that goes,
Mr.
With
Pratt.
Right hand, thank you. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give before the board this evening will be the truth so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, state your full name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Certainly. Aleta DeMarco, 7050 213th Road, Live Oak. Okay, one of the things, and perhaps I am wrong or misheard, but something that was said during last meeting pertaining to the fees. I watched all of your rock star performances of all of your meetings since May on YouTube. And I saw your meeting on the 28th of July about the waste. And I listened to everything that y'all were saying. I watched who was asking questions and who was enlightening themselves and so on. One of the things that was said in the meeting the other evening about the fire department raise, granted, we all agree that these people are very, very necessary to our county and to our well-being. Most of us do not deny them any raises. Y'all have taken 8 years. You are this year's group who is going to be putting 8 years of taxes on us. There are a couple of you that have known about the changes in waste management and reached out to Advanced to try to get rates while they were in the process of being purchased by Waste Management. All of that is now being dumped on us, and the increase of equipment and so on for the fire department after 8 years. Many of us are nowhere near a fire engine. None of us are safe. But we're going to be carrying this extra burden. Now, if I misunderstood, the question was, who minds giving $20 this year for the fire? And a lot of us raised our hand. We don't care. $20, that's fine. But if I am correct, I heard 2-3 questions repeated. And the last one I wrote down was $20 a year. Now, that sent bells off, which means in 5 years, we're up another $100. So I wanted some clarification on that. Were you saying, Italian, were you saying to us $20 this go-around that we don't mind? Although none of us like the letter that says you can just go ahead and raise our taxes on the fire and on the waste without any further information. Now, you gentlemen sat up there and you said, oh, well, we can do this and that. No, what's written in paper is Florida. The laws are Florida. If it's written, that's the way it goes. When you're talking about raising our fees to where people are losing their homes after 8 years, that's not right, because even if you are new, some of you have known. And, I lost it the other night because I kept hearing from our board that we voted in about your families having to pay the fees. Y'all have 2 incomes. Many of us have no other way to get a second income, and one of your second incomes is from us. So our homes are going to be in jeopardy because of bad management. Some of you were here 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and some of you are not. You're new. Understood. But likewise, a lot of us had nothing to say about you changing the fees. So that's my one thing about the fees, the $20 change.
Let's clear that up now, though. I mean,
Right.
would you like to address that, Commissioner Lamb?
Yes, ma'am, yes, sir. Ms. DeMarco, the conversation that I believe this board had last night, or Tuesday night, was $20 next year, $20 increase to take it to 120. We did not discuss a 5-year or 8-year plan to go $20 per year continually for the next X amount of years. We are discussing 1 year at a time. And I believe Florida statute requires us to only set it 1 year at a time. And the lack of notification, I believe we had a consensus of the board that if there is a proposed increase, we agreed to spend the $15,000, $17,000 to notify the public, not just in the paper, but with a letter in their mailbox because of the amount of hands that showed up that, wanted to see that due to, maybe there not being such a widely spread newspaper publication these days. So we agreed via consensus to do that, but there is no 2-year, 3-year plan. We discussed 1 year, and it was $20 going from 100 to 120.
I wanted to verify that.
Yes, ma'am.
Because in the voting, I wrote down what I was pretty sure I heard, and it might have been erroneous on whoever said it, but I heard annual. And
It was a long night,
It
late
was.
night with a lot of
That's why-
discussion, but that's what we finalized on.
That's why I wanted to bring that up, because I said, wait a minute. The other thing is, again, we go back to get us out of this predicament. Get on to making us self-sufficient. The other counties are. And there are ways to not charge the residents, the taxpayers, all of this kind of money if you just go and get the money. We are a small county, and I've done grant writing. There are other people who have offered to help the board, help the county, have offered their free time. There are people who know probably more about certain areas than some of you. If we're not asked and it's not given the opportunity to the county to help, we don't even know. Watching your videos, in some of them, you discussed what you were voting on, what the workshops were about. In some of them, you just vote, on such and such a proposal. We have no clue what we're watching. You have to go back. And in one of them, you even said you were voting on something that you had been working on and were so involved because you were going there every day with this new prospective company coming in, which I applaud you all on. We need that. We need the jobs. But that it was everyday business for you, and so you just did a vote on it. I had to go back and find out what you were talking about to understand what you were even voting on. And that's not trying to put you all down. It's just not everybody can get here, right? Many people work 2 and 3 other jobs trying to support their families. Sometimes you have meetings and we don't even know when they are. That's how I found out about the first 2. But put it somewhere where we can find it. Riverbend, put it online where we know. I had to ask somebody else who told me you were on YouTube, okay? So in these times when we're trying to keep up and trying to survive, even driving a vehicle costs money, which we've all talked about, the gas, the vehicles, the trucks and the dumps, so on and so forth. And it gets hard. One gentleman that was here, a disabled veteran, supporting all of his family on $900 a month, and He doesn't know where to turn. And I'm just going to beg y'all, you have a huge surplus. That surplus is our money. Why are you wanting to put 8 years on us at one time when we have had absolutely no warning, literally? We didn't know. Y'all say you didn't find out until May, but a couple of you knew about writing extensions on the waste management contract for 2 separate years.
Commissioner Lane, you'd like to speak?
What 8 years are you talking about? What, I mean, you just, you
were
said we're
talking-
putting 8 years on the public. What 8 years are you
Y'all
talking
said
about?
that no taxes had been raised in 8 years. Y'all said that in your workshop, in your meetings.
That's a fact, but you're saying we're putting another 8 years on the public.
No,
What?
you're
confused.
accumulating all of that 8 years on us instead of taxes being raised for those 8 years, $9 a month. I think you came up with something after you had done your wonderful research, that it was $9 and change.
58 cent.
a month. Right. And that was great. You went out there and tried to find an alternative. So all of this money that is a deficit from the study that was done and how much more money we need in order to hit the budget is now being put at one time instead of your $9 or $12 a year or whatever.
I mean, I wasn't on the board when that happened, but in defense of the board that was here, they had a really good rate, and whether they did or they didn't, I mean, we're not the judge or the jury decide to raise the rate, but their rate was fixed, so they chose not to raise it because it was a good rate at the time, and then, you know, everybody's had education on what has transpired in the last 6 months, and it's a different ballgame, totally different.
Can I say something too?
Commissioner White.
That $225 rate that we approved the other night, that is already subsidized by the county at $500,000. Plus any carryover in those two accounts to run that budget for 3 months. So that actual rate probably should be closer to 400. Excuse me. So we are contributing to to the garbage. And when you say we're not using any of that money, we are using some of that money
Yeah.
now.
Just to clarify what he's saying, it's still coming up way short of meeting our obligation to dispose of the county's garbage. I mean, it's solid waste, I mean, for a better word, but it's short, and it's probably short closer to $750,000 by the time it's over. And
Exactly.
The 225 alone for assessments will not cash flow those two departments by itself. The county is kicking in ad valorem taxes currently in the budget to the tune of $500,000. That's in the budget. But there'll probably be another 100, 200,000 because there's so many variables that we won't know until we get 6, 8 months into that budget. But we're prepared to kick in some additional ad valorem, your tax money, real estate taxes, to pick up the shortfalls.
And I would also like to add, it is absolutely our job and our responsibility to figure out how to make this better in the future. Now, one way we want to try to do that is we want to try to get that landfill back going, where we're in charge and somebody else sitting, and we're not at somebody else's mercy. The people's money will be used for that if that's what the board decides to do. So that money's not going to get wasted away is what I'm saying. It's going to help hopefully alleviate a problem and keep it from going up so high that it's an extremely big burden on the people.
Well-
But, I mean, we have to have, those funds will be used is what I'm saying. So it's not like we're just holding these funds back and we're not trying to use them for the people. We are, but it's going to take us time to get there. They're not going to get wasted. And I know that's obviously not what you want to hear, but, I mean, I think the board worked hard the other evening to try to get it down, and obviously, it's better than what it was the other night when we got there. So, I mean,
That's a
And my fear, ma'am, is if we don't do something, what does that rate look like next year? if we sit here and subsidize it all the way back to $130, which is roughly $2 million, what does that look like next year when this comes up? $500, $600? I don't know. But what I'm saying is, we can't just sit here at $130. And I understand where you're coming from, I get it, but it still doesn't change the fact that it's a raw cost and it has to be paid.
I think all of us know that, but I think the way that it was done, the letter that was sent out was shameful.
I don't disagree with you there.
Okay. And you put our homes in jeopardy. After you got your July 28th workshop.
Ma'am, you're being repetitive now, though. You've told us this numerous times at numerous meetings, and I understand it, and I respect that, but, I mean, we have to move forward, and I don't want to take your opportunity away to speak, but you're being repetitive. You're telling the board that, we're terrible at our jobs, you don't like us, we're no good. I understand all those
And I
things.
don't appreciate that. That isn't what I said. What I said, and what I think everybody here agrees with, is you did this to us 2 months before our taxes come up. We don't have any opportunity to even find any other income.
I
And-
can assure you it was no ill intent on anyone on this board to come up with a scheme that gave the public 2 months to try to come up with the funds to cover an assessment increase. I mean,
I don't-
every board member up here in the bottom of their heart has the best interest of every person that lives in this county at heart. I do know that. We may argue and disagree, but we all care about the people. I do know that. It's just how we get there is our differences.
Okay, I'm not going to say anything else because basically at this point, you're going to do what you're going to do, and we get to live with it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Wainwright? Yes, sir.
need to get
He'll have to swear you in because you was late getting here, Mr. Pravat.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give before the board this evening will be the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, full name and address for the record, please, sir.
Donald Wainwright, 7163 61st Drive. I'm really glad this has come up. I really am, because when you stand here and hear this, I'm glad that people's eyes are getting open. 20 years ago, when this landfill was getting closed, I was catching hell every day about a landfill. All y'all know that I own the landfill. But we have a need that we have to have a landfill. All right, so you've seen tonight that you'll never please her no matter what. No matter what, if you give her the sky, it's not your problem that she takes 3 months to get $20, but Joe Biden can raise our gas by the decisions he made. She cannot plan her own personal budget for this year. So how are y'all to anticipate what garbage and fuel is when fuel has doubled in 6 months? These are not things that y'all can budget for. And so what I want to do publicly, and I don't take up for the commission, because when you receive bad decisions that was made 20 years ago, you have to dig your way out of them. Now, what I'm glad to say that I'm seeing is they won't want their rate to go up every single year. So now they'll start to see, we got to have a landfill. This is not a problem Mr. Harris has created or that y'all have created. Y'all have inherited it, all right? But what I'm trying to get the point of is now the naysayers, you're hitting them where we get hit all the time, is in the pocketbook, all right? And so if they really want to help, they'll figure out ways to help y'all get a landfill permitted. All the infrastructure's in place out there. So the county's already saved millions of dollars. Everything's in place. And if you think garbage is bad now, if you only had one gas station in town, what can they charge? Waste Management has methodically bought up every landfill around. This has been a plan for 20 years. We talked about it 20 years ago. Now their plan's in place. You got no leverage. All right? I applaud what Mr. Land's doing, trying to get out and find more. It's nothing that the whole commission's not done. The county's not done. Me as an individual, I've done it. I need cheaper dumping rates. And so what I'm telling y'all is you'll never please a person like her. She'll always be mad and she'll always gripe. and her type will always gripe like that because they think they can do so much better than you can. Well, if she can do so much better than you can, and this is not derogatory toward her, why is she worried about writing a $60 check if she knows so much more than y'all do? And so take it at that. That don't mean to be disrespectful. You don't ask a broke person how to make money. You learn from those who do. You don't watch a doctor and just become a doctor. You got to learn. And so business learns. And so fight for the landfill, y'all. Start your permitting process right away. I applaud y'all because nobody wants to sit here and be bashed like y'all was the other night. I thought it was totally disrespectful that y'all were trying to do what's best for the county in every way. You may disagree. That's why there's 5 of you, because it can't be a monopoly. And so you may disagree, but nobody doubts every one of you personally. I feel that we have one of the best commissions. The public, the general working people feel that we have one of the best commissions that we've ever had. I totally believe, and I'll publicly say that. And I am a person that's in business. I'm in the business, out here in the public every day trying to make a living. I don't like being in these meetings. It makes people mad at me when I speak my mind, when I speak what is right. They get mad because they don't want to hear the truth. So what I'm telling you tonight, you'll never please her. There's no need in trying. Do the very best you can with your budget and plan that nobody gets to hold us hostage the following year and the following year. And then when you start putting $3 million, $4 million from the landfill budget back into it, y'all gonna be heroes because, man, how did y'all ever think of this to save us this money? And so, fellas, don't get down. Don't let these people try to tear you down, try to tear you apart. I know that y'all are working hard, and I know when you put all your minds together, we'll find a solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Wainwright.
you.
Thank you.
At this time, yes, sir, if you please come to the microphone and our county attorney will swear you in.
And do you swear or affirm the testimony that you'll give before the board this evening will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Name and address, please, sir.
My name's Keith Flynn. I live at 12838 155th Place, Live Oak, Florida. I've been going through some of the numbers here, and I got to say, Mr. Wainwright did say something very positive. I was really impressed with the way you were flexible the other night and really didn't set hard on those numbers. Couple of questions, though. Again, let's go back to the waste management people. From my understanding, reading through the regulations, the county regulations, you guys have the ability to cap the amount of fees that they can charge as a vendor. That might be an alternative to looking to raising the fees. I do think also that there's money in the CARES Act that can help us get our county property permitted. I certainly think, and I'm just kind of puzzled by this. And I know that you're going to use CARES Act money to do it, but why are we building $1 million hangar out at the airport that has 14% utilization?
Mr. Commissioner Lane, you want to speak to it, or? I'll speak to it.
I'll speak, it doesn't matter. I'll speak to it. I have been getting screenshots all day long from social media about this airplane hangar that we're going to build and this rent that we're paying for an airplane hangar in Georgia. We have not approved an airplane hangar in the
Okay.
event of $1 million. It was on the wish list. It was not approved. It is not in the budget. It's in the budget in the form of a wish list, but it is not in the actual budget for $1 million hangar. That is fictional, period.
Okay, so that's gone. We don't have to worry about that.
There is no $1 million airplane hangar that the county is funding in 2021, 2022.
Now, have you looked into the CARES Act to help us permit our own, the county landfill?
I do believe this board is prepared to go down the avenue of using CARES. It's no longer CARES money, but we have it in the budget as CARES funding. But the funding that we receive from the CARES bill, I do believe that this budget is prepared to go there and use those funds to help the permitting process on the landfill. We haven't gotten that far yet. We're trying to get through this budget and get these numbers balanced and get this happen, but the money's there, and I do believe this board would agree to use some of those to start that project.
Well, I've got free time if I can help volunteer with you guys to go through some of this stuff. It's my background. Another thing that kind of scratched my head a little bit is that there's no revenue projected in the budget from recycling. And from what I understand, even though the vendor takes control of all the waste, we still have title to everything that is there. So I'm wondering, is Waste Management paying us anything for what they're recycling? Have we looked at that avenue?
Mr. Harris, you want to address that?
I don't have any reason to believe that Waste Management is recycling the material that we send to their landfill.
Okay.
Now, having said that, we do actually generate some small amount of revenue for recycling. And we do recycle some items. And I'm gonna give you my best guess right now, and I'm just gonna qualify this statement by saying it's a guess. It's probably around $46,000 maybe is what we generated this past year, and I have those numbers. I've got a report on it. I think that report gives me the numbers every year for the past 7 or 8 years. And if you've done your research, you've already figured out that in 2000, I think it was 18, that recycling in America took a big downturn because the Chinese stopped taking recyclables.
Right.
But having said that, and we saw a dip in our revenues that year from that same effect. But they've started creeping up a little bit. And I'm just guessing right now that it might be around $46,000
Okay.
in the past year.
Well, there's just a lot more there. I mean, we have the recycling containers set up to separate everything out. It's just a matter of somebody, getting it to the right place. And, with this push in Washington with the sideshow circus they're doing up there, with all the green that they want to do, I would think that there's a lot we could get assistance in helping with this. So other than that, I hope we would encourage you to look at maybe capping the amount that Waste Management can charge. I know that the regulation's on the books, and appreciate the work you guys are doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments this evening. At this time, do I have anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, at this time I'll close public comment. So, any questions, Mr. Baker?
I was just talking with Keith, it's because the numbers were lowered to the 225. It's going to affect your budget amount. So it's where the Keith is going to get you those numbers.
Okay. We need a few minutes then before we can have a vote on that.
I've got the new numbers, but unless you want to have some more changes.
No.
The current number is $109,902,290.
Just so everybody can hear, $109,902,290. Correct. Thank you, Mr. Gentry.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I just want to mention this. In the meeting the other night, we talked about the purchase of the additional land out of the Catalyst site. That hasn't been reconciled in this budget, and I'm not recommending that you try to do it now. We move forward, and if you decide that you're going to make that acquisition using the revenues that we've got, we keep calling it CARES Act funding, and it really isn't.
Yeah.
It was taken as a reimbursement against labor. So you've got a reserve there now. If you want to use that reserve, we can make that adjustment later. It doesn't have to occur before you adopt this tentative budget. You already voted on the acquisition. If you decided tonight that you wanted to use that as a resource, it's a budget, it'll be a budget entry. It isn't going to change this budget going forward.
I say just leave it where it's at, and whenever the closing date gets here, when we figure out where we need to pull the funds from at that time. That's
Okay.
what I would say.
I'm good with that.
Just leave it alone. Leave this alone.
I think we got a consensus to just do that.
Yes.
Okay.
At this time, Mr. Baker, just so I'm clear, we're ready to take a vote on the, okay. I didn't really hear what you said. If you, just, I got you.
Keith, you want to give me the budget number again?
109-902-290.
Okay, that's the new budget, or tentative, proposed. Okay.
So at this time, we need, just so I'm clear, we need to read the resolution into the record. Mr. Baker? Let me change my number right here, like you said.
First, you need to do the.
Sir?
First, you need to do the millage rate.
Okay.
That's a lot of reading. You want Mr. Pravat to read that? He's a certified reader.
I don't know that you actually have to read the whole resolution. All you have to do is vote.
Title.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to vote on the millage rate and you have to vote on the budget.
That's a
You
lot of
read the
reading.
title and then and state the number.
All right, on the tentative millage rate, that was 9.0000 mils. This time, do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I offer motion to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Fleming,
Second.
second by Commissioner White. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Gentlemen, at this time, we'll take a vote on the tentative budget. That number being $109,900.
No, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, it's $109,902,290.
I'm sorry.
$2,290.
Yeah. 109,000 ain't gonna get as far as it.
No, sir. No, sir.
I would like to preface this with some errors I'm making this evening. And I want to ask people to please think about doing this, but I had my second COVID shot yesterday, and I'm not feeling the greatest, but I'm trying to push through this. But anyway, that was a mighty big error on my part. So at this time, the new budget, $109,902,290. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Land, a second by Commissioner Fleming. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. At this time, we'll close the budget hearing. And we'll move into closing comments. I will ask this, do I have anyone from the public wishing to speak on anything, any other matter at this time? I'll open the floor for that. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. We'll go to closing comments. Mr. Pravat?
No, sir.
Mr. Harris?
No, sir.
Commissioner White?
I thank everybody for coming. It's great to see a lot of people here. Even when you're fussing at us, I'm glad to see you here and taking part. So, but I just want people to be clear on this garbage. The county is taking money out of our regular budget to make it at $225 this year. And I just, I don't want you to think it's all on your back, because it's not. But with that being said, we've took a pretty good beating on this, and probably, some of it we deserve, some of it we don't, but my thinking always is, as a business owner, is looking out for you and spending that money the same way I'd spend it in my business. So I just want you to understand that, and that's where I'm coming from. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner White. Commissioner Fleming?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to be brief. I'm one that has sat on this board for 11 years, and I've seen things. I've saw many changes, and I've saw some long meetings. That was a long meeting the other night, 6.5 hours, but I remember we had some that went just a little bit longer than that, and we had some situations that we had to work out, but we got it done. And I said this the other night, with the help of God, we always put God first. Things will work out. Sometimes we may say some things, and sometimes I'm limited to what I say, because if I say something, it may not sound right, because I don't like hurting people's feelings, but I'm very straightforward person, individual, that when you try to do your best, the best that you can, that's all that you can ever do. And when we run for these offices, sometimes you get threatened that somebody's you won't be sitting there the next time. I don't think no one up here is afraid of their position, I don't think. But I'm grateful and thankful that, you know, I've done it. I'm in my third term, and I'm very thankful, grateful that I've been through some things, and when you go through, you just get strength. You get stronger, and you get stronger. When you get torn down, you get stronger. I'm a survivor. I was disappointed in some of the things that was said, but I maintain my composure. For individuals to say that I was very arrogant or rude. So I say to this board, again, I say to Commissioner Land for his research that he did, which I did not do. It was very serious, and I commend you for that. And these other, Commissioner White and Chairman Commissioner Stapleton, a job well done. And Commissioner Hale is not here. But I can tell you, it's easy to sit out there and look up here. And it's kind of difficult. But when you got pressure, you're getting phone calls and you're getting letters and you're getting beat up. But I always say I have some very thick skin. I was raised by a very, very, very hard taskmaster. My father was a very hard man. It gave me great respect that I respect people. And I respect your feelings, but you got to respect my feelings too. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm in with that.
Thank you, Commissioner Fleming. Commissioner Land.
I would just echo what Commissioner White and Commissioner Fleming said. I mean, this has been a learning curve for me. It's been a rough year. We've had COVID. We've got lots of issues that the board's had to face and deal with. Some of them that just been tough. And in the last week, I think I'm pretty much numb to social media now, and nothing surprised me. My friends or family send me a screenshot of what someone has accused me of or said about me on social media, and to know that myself and everyone on this board is sitting up here getting just blasted of all kind of accusations. I mean, that's just a little disheartening that folks would truly think that about us. But, then that's just politics. I get it. But at the end of the day, I told folks that if I ran and I won this position, I would spend their money as if it was mine, and it is their money. And when I lay my head on the pillow at night, I have to be satisfied with myself and the Lord that I did the best that I could with what I had with their money. And I truly believe that's what we've done. Everybody's not happy about that. I understand. I mean, the Mr. Bobby Morgan, the disabled veteran, I spoke a couple of times the other night. I mean, I'm sympathetic for his position, but, to spend other people's money on operating expenses to the tune of a couple $1 million just so we can keep it at 130, and in 12 months, we're still at 130. We have the same problem, but we're out $2 million that we don't have to start a landfill. That's just not a decision that I would make with my money. I wouldn't do that. It's gone. And it's been a rough week, and I'm glad that we got through it, and I think this board's forward thinking, and I just hope the public would be a little more sympathetic, but that's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Land. I'd say the same thing. There's not much that hasn't been said. The one thing I would say is, Mr. Marco, I appreciate you fighting for the people. I mean, we're representatives of the people, and you're absolutely right. You stand up and say your piece, and I appreciate that. The one thing, me and you may disagree on things, but the one thing that we are the same in is we're both citizens of Suwannee County. and we live in one of the greatest places in the world. And for you to fight for it like you want to, and for me to have the opportunity to fight for it, that's living in America. And it gives me great pleasure in that, to be here, to live together. And are we going to have disagreements? Absolutely. There needs to be checks and balances. We need to have people looking at us, making sure we're doing the right thing. I don't have a problem in the world for that. Is it frustrating sometimes when people say things and do things? Absolutely. The thing that hurts the worst to me is when they bring your family into it and your children. I mean, when they have to suffer from decisions that we make, that's tough. I mean, I would just ask with the social media, if you have a question, our numbers are public. I mean, we're easy to get a hold of. Just call us and ask us if this is true or not true. Give us the opportunity to answer that question. I mean, it's no different than the airport situation. I mean, they take something they thought they heard that's not a fact, and they turn it into something that truly hurts people. And that's not right. That's not who we are. At the end of the day, we're not that. So I just ask as we move forward to let's be grateful that we're free. Most of us are healthy. No different with this shot I got. Many people are thinking, well, you sure did wait a long time for that. Well, I absolutely did. I put it off as long as I could. But you know what? I have friends dying. I have family members dying. I have a decision to make. Do I want to try to be here for my family? Absolutely. I had 2 friends this week, both of them younger than me. Went to school with them. They're gone. We're sitting here hating each other. Absolutely, it's money. It costs money. But at the end of the day, our love for one another will outlast this. I think we got one more speaker this evening. Welcome.
I'm Betty Lawrence, Director of Libraries. And I'm sorry that I didn't get sworn in, but I've just been sitting there and listening, and it just reminded me so much of a poem that I use when I'm going through things. And I used this the last time our great flood came through. I shared it with the community. So I won't recite that poem now, but I'm going to ask you to take a look at it. Rudyard Kipling, and the poem is called If. So I'd like to have you read that. It may encourage you, all of them. But my heart just took me there, and so I'm sorry.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Betty, can you email that to each of us? Okay.
Thank you so much. At this time, gentlemen, all I need is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Bland, a second by Commissioner White. All in favor, say aye. Aye.